All right. Happy Tuesday stretch, everyone. This is Katie. Just a reminder to listen to your bodies today. Take it easy. It is a stretch, so do what feels good, leave out what feels bad, or substitute it with something you like better. It's kind of your workout, so it's your workout, so make it yours and feel good with it. Let's go ahead and get our body temperatures up. I'll have you standing on your mat or in the surface space you're using today. And we're just going to start with some nice, big, gentle arm swings. So I'm going to have you raise both arms up overhead from the shoulders, reaching nice and tall. And then you're just going to drop your arms and let them swing back behind you, like gravity kind of pendulum them, and then we'll swing back up. So just some arm swings, waving the arms up and swinging the arms back. We're doing 2 at a time right now. And let's start to get our breathing involved as well. We're taking a big inhale through our nose as we wave our arms overhead. Exhale as we swing our arms back behind us.
Katie, should our palms be facing forward, facing each other?
Palms facing forward. Great question.
And then when you go back, they're kind of facing the ceiling?
Yep.
Okay.
Precisely. Thank you. And let's go ahead and do one arm at a time. So reaching one arm forward as we swing one arm backward, and then we'll switch, reaching left arm up, right arm back. So alternating, still the same orientation of our palms. Nice job. Keep the breathing going. And 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and pause those arm swings. Let's get both hands on our hips. Feet are planted under our hips, toes facing forward. We're going to stir the pot. So we'll push our hips forward. We'll roll them over to the right, push them back behind us, roll them over to the left, and back to the start. So just making some big circles with our hips, going clockwise. Keeping our feet planted firmly on the ground, feeling how your toes need to kind of grip the ground to keep yourself balanced, even with that shifting of the weight as you stir your hips in a circle. Feeling all that musculature in your lower back, in your pelvis, in your abdominals, just kind of as they move. And let's go ahead and switch the direction of those circles. We'll take them counterclockwise now. Still really overemphasizing kind of how far you can push your hips out and around while keeping your feet firmly planted. Good. A few more breaths. And let's go ahead and bring the hips back to center. Feet are under the hips, and we're going to do some side bends and reaching next. So I'll have you take a stance just about shoulder width apart with your feet, or maybe a little bit wider. And we'll start by placing our left hand on our left hip. We're going to raise the right arm overhead from the shoulder. And we're going to reach that right arm over our ear and reach it over to the left as we gently push our hips over to the right. So really emphasizing that bend and reach. And then we're going to come back to center and switch to the other side. So right hand on right hip, raising left arm overhead from the shoulder, reaching left arm over to the right, gently pushing our hips to the left. And go ahead and alternate between the two. Breathing in when we're at the center, breathing out when we're reaching. And we're still keeping our nose and chest straight ahead as we reach. Good. A few more breaths here. And let's come back to center with our body. And let's widen that stance out even more. So 1 to 2 steps outside of our hips for some Cossack rocks and a wide-legged forward fold. So we'll bend the knees and lower the hips just slightly. I'll have you take your elbows to the insides of your knees or your thighs, just kind of gently guiding the knees apart. And then we're just going to gently rock ourselves over to the right, kind of straightening out the left leg. And then we'll come back to center and rock over to the left, straightening the right leg. So it's just a really gentle movement. And we'll have our nose face the floor to kind of keep our head and our spine aligned. Just gently moving those joints in the ankles, the knees. If it's uncomfortable to keep your elbows on the insides of your thighs or knees, you can always take your hands to the top of your thighs or your knees for a little extra support. And feel free to stay here just in that rocking motion, or you can reach your hands all the way to the floor for that wide-legged forward fold. And you can continue to just gently kind of rock left to right. Great stretch of those inner thighs, a little bit of the lower back. And let's go ahead and gently bring ourselves up out of that kind of squatted stance. Bring ourselves back to a neutral standing position for a little bit of upper body stretches now. So we're in that neutral stance. Arms are down by my sides. We're just going to do some neck circles. So I'll have you take your chin down to your chest. And then we'll roll that right ear over to the top of the right shoulder. Take our nose up to the ceiling. And then roll that left ear towards left shoulder and back to the start with our chin to chest. So gentle neck circles or head circles clockwise. Remember to take these nice and slow. And let's go ahead and switch the direction of our head circles, taking them counterclockwise now. And let's go ahead and bring our head back to center, and we'll do a few sun salutations before we get into our more static stretches. So I'll have you get your feet underneath your hips, toes facing forward. We're going to inhale as we sweep our arms out wide to the sides and then reach them high overhead. And we're going to exhale into a forward fold, bending at the waist, reaching the hands down towards our feet or the floor. We're going to inhale for a half lift by taking our hands to our shins and flattening our back out. Then we're going to exhale all the way back into that forward fold, just letting the arms, head, neck, and shoulders hang as we reach the hands towards the floor. And then we're going to inhale, coming all the way back up to standing, reaching the arms out wide again overhead. Palms are going to come together over our head. And then we're going to exhale as we lower the palms in front of the face and into the chest. And let's go for another round here. Inhale, arms out and up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, full fold. And inhale, reaching wide, reaching high, palms together, and exhale, lower the palms. One more set here. Inhale, arms wide and overhead. Exhale into that fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale, all the way, reaching wide, reaching high, palms together, and exhale as we lower them into our chest. Beautiful. Now we'll get into some more of that static stretching now that we're nice and warmed up. We're like warm clay. We're going to start with a revolved or twisted chair pose. So while we're still standing here, I want you to get your feet just about under your hips, maybe a little bit wider. Make sure you have a very firm stance with your feet. And I'm going to have you keep those prayer hands that you had at the end of your sun salutation. So palms are together and resting in the chest. I'm going to have you take a slight bend in both knees, almost to a full squat position. So we're just sinking the hips down, bending the knees. Knees will stay over the toes. And then I'm going to have you gently, as you keep your prayer hands in front of your chest, let's gently twist our chest and our nose to the right. And we can just stay here. If you need to take a little less of a bend with your knees and stay here, that's totally fine. Or you can get that left elbow to the outside of your right knee and kind of use that as leverage to hold your twist. This is a revolved chair stretch. A lot of our theme today will be rotation of the spine. And let's just breathe here. And let's go ahead and release that twist. Come back to upright standing. You can shake out the hips if you'd like. And then we'll reset our feet positioning and switch to the other side. So when you're ready, we have those prayer hands in our chest. We're going to bend the knees, lower the hips, and gently twist our chest and nose to the left. Either just staying there or planting that right elbow on the outside of the left knee for a little leverage in your twist. Revolved chair. few more breaths here. And on your next breath, let's gently release that twist and bring ourselves back to upright standing. And you can release your arms back down by your sides and shake out the hips. We'll do a little chest opener or standing locust stretch next. So I'll have you keep your feet under your hips, toes forward. We'll interlace our fingers behind our back. And then we're going to pull our shoulders back behind us, kind of lift those hands off of our backside and take our nose up to the ceiling or the sky. We're just holding that open stretch of the shoulders, taking some nice deep breaths, making sure our pelvis is tucked underneath our rib cage. We don't want to be arching that lower back. One more big breath here. And we can release those fingers and roll out the shoulders. Let's transition down to our mat with a downward dog stretch. So if you're familiar, go ahead and get into that down dog. If not, we'll go ahead and from this standing position, we'll lower our hands down to the floor. And then we'll walk those hands away from our feet until we get to a kind of a high plank position. And then we're just going to come to the balls of our feet and push our hips up to the sky as high as we can go here. So the only thing in contact with the floor is our hands and the balls of our feet, unless you can push both heels down to the mat. And if not, just go ahead and pedal one heel down at a time, bending the opposite knee. So downward dog stretch. Great for that posterior chain, as well as some shoulder strength. Let's take a few breaths here before we transition. Keeping the hips high. And when you're ready, let's step that right foot up between our hands. So now we're in kind of an extended lunge or the world's greatest stretch. And then we're going to drop that left knee down to the floor. So now we're in a deep lunge position. Let's just hold here in this deep lunge for a few breaths, really sinking the hips down towards the floor and into that front right leg, feeling a great stretch in the front of the left hip. And of course, we have the option to just stay here and really feel that stretch, or we can add a little bit of a rotation exercise. So to add that rotation, I'll have you take your right hand off of the floor and twist the nose and chest to the right as you take that right hand and arm overhead from the shoulder. So kind of a deep lunge with a twist. And then let's bring the right hand back down and switch to the left side. So keeping the right foot planted where it's at, we're still in that same deep lunge, but now we're taking the left arm overhead as well, twisting our nose and chest to the left. Holding for just about a breath or two, and then switching back to the right. So just some gentle rotations as we hold this deep lunge. Few more breaths. And let's go ahead and stop the rotations. If you chose to do them, bring both hands back down on either side of your right foot. And we'll transition into a runner's lunge or a half split. So I want you to keep your right foot out in front of you, and we'll gently walk our hands back towards our left leg. Shift the hips back towards the left heel. And then the right foot will come off of the floor. The right heel will stay planted. The right toes will go up towards the sky. And now our right leg is almost fully straightened. There might be a slight bend in your knee. This can be a very intense stretch. But we're feeling a great stretch along the entire back side of our right leg. Runner's lunge or half split. Just take a few breaths here. Let that hamstring release before we switch sides. And on your next breath, we'll release that runner's lunge. We'll actually bring the right knee back underneath the right hip. So we're just in a kneeling position now. And we'll switch to the left side. So I'll have you step your left foot out in front of you. So now we're in kind of a kneeling lunge position. We'll bring our hands down to either side of the left foot now. And we'll gently sink those hips down towards the ground and into that left leg. Feeling that great stretch in the front of the right hip. Deep lunge stretch. Great for those tight, intense hip flexors where we hold so much of our tension and stress. It's really those shoulders and the hip flexors that get the brunt of it. Also with a lot of seated posture, which we do a lot of sitting, that's where the tension will build. Good. Option to just stay here and continue to hold this deep lunge, or we can add those rotations again by lifting left arm off the floor, reaching it high overhead as you twist your nose and chest to the left. And then hand back down, switching to the other side. Right arm and hand go up, chest turns to the right. And just repeating nice and slow with those rotations. Couple more breaths here. And if you chose to add those rotations, go ahead and bring both hands back down, back to that standard deep lunge. And then we're going to transition into that runner's lunge or half split. So we'll keep the left foot out in front of us. Gently walk the hands back, shift the hips back towards the right heel. Left foot becomes flexed, left heel's in the floor, left toes are to the sky. Left leg is mostly straightened or almost entirely straight. Runner's lunge or half split. Great stretch of the entire back of the left leg. Remember to breathe. This stretch can be intense, so be mindful. Good. We're feeling that active release as we hold these stretches for a longer time to really get that stretch reflex, which happens after 30 seconds. Last couple breaths here. And on your next breath, let's gently bring that left knee back underneath the hip. So now we're in that kneeling position once again. And we'll bring our hands down to the floor if they weren't already there. So now we're in that tabletop position. Wrists, elbows, shoulders are all stacked, and my knees are under my hips. Feet are trailing behind my knees. We're going to do some cat-cow stretches next. So starting from that flat back position, we'll go ahead and inhale as we arch our back and tilt our hips up to the ceiling as well as our nose. Kind of dropping the chest towards the floor, the shoulder blades will come together. And then we're going to exhale into that cat. So we'll round the back, push the hips forward, and separate the shoulder blades by really pushing our shoulders away from our palms. And nose comes towards the floor. And let's just alternate between both that cat and cow. Nice and slow. I want you to almost count to 5 between each rotation of cat and cow. And make sure we're mindful of our breathing as well. Inhaling as we take our nose to the sky, exhaling as we take our nose to the floor. These are both very essential movements of the pelvis and the shoulders. So it's important that we do these kinds of stretches regularly to keep ourselves healthy. Few more breaths. Good. And when you're ready, let's come back to center or flat-backed position. And we're going to transition into a child's pose stretch. So go ahead and get into that if you're familiar. If not, let's walk our hands out in front of us a few paces. And we will widen our knees out slightly outside of our hips. And we will sit our hips back towards our heels, leaving our arms outstretched if away from us. Getting as far as we can, reaching the fingertips as far away from the hips as possible. And if you need supports here, I always recommend putting maybe a pillow under your bum or under your knees. This can be an intense stretch if you don't have a ton of knee flexion or you're working on your knee flexion. So make sure you use supports where needed. And if it's uncomfortable to keep your knees wide, you can even bring them a little closer together. See how that changes your stretch. And let's breathe deeply. And option if you'd like to thread the needle. So you can either continue to hold this standard child's pose, or we'll take our right hand and we'll thread it between our left elbow and our left knee, gently twisting the chest and nose to the left as we hold that left arm out in front of us still. Gentle stretch of the right shoulder. And let's bring that right hand back and outstretch it out in front of us once again and switch to threading the needle with the left hand. Taking left hand through right elbow and right knee, reaching it as far to the right as we can. Gentle stretch of the left shoulder as we hold this child's pose. Continue to breathe deeply. And let's bring that left hand back, stretch it out in front of us long, and gently raise our hips back up, pushing out of that child's pose back into a tabletop stretch. And we're actually going to transition down to the floor fully. We'll be lying on our backs. So coming down to a lying position, supine lying on our backs, noses towards the sky. And we're kind of in that corpse pose to start. So our legs are outstretched. Our arms are down by our sides, palms facing up, just getting comfortable lying here, getting our pillows or supports where we need them. And let's go ahead and bring the right knee up into our chest. We'll meet it with our hands and give it a big hug. And we'll go ahead and begin some ankle circles with that right ankle, going one clockwise, one counterclockwise, taking these very slow. And I want you to bend your left leg, taking your left knee to the ceiling. Left foot is flat to the floor. And we're actually going to straighten the right leg now. So Right leg is straightened. I'm flexing my foot so the bottom of my foot is parallel to the sky. And both of my hands are holding onto the back of my right thigh. We're just pulling that straightened right leg as close to our chest as we can. This is an intense stretch as well. And let's just gently kind of roll that leg in a circle. We'll go clockwise to start. Just kind of rolling that leg around in the hip socket. You can also use a yoga strap here or a towel if you'd like to hold on to the bottom of that foot. Make it a little easier. Or just change it. And let's switch the direction of that circle we're drawing with our leg, taking it counterclockwise or to the left. And let's transition into that reclined pigeon stretch. So I'll have you take the outside of your right ankle and place it on the top of your left thigh or left knee. Your right knee will gently fall out to the right. And we can either use both hands to gently guide that right knee away from us, holding this stretch as is, or you can interlace the fingers on the back of your left leg, left thigh, and raise the left foot off of the floor for a little more intense stretch. Reclined pigeon. Great stretch on the outer right hip region. Taking some nice deep breaths in through our nose, out through our mouth. On your next breath, let's go ahead and release that reclined pigeon. We'll stretch both legs back out long away from us. We can just gently kind of shake out the hips, maybe pushing one foot down at a time and raising the other one. And we'll begin to switch sides. So I'll have you bring your left knee up into your chest and give it a big hug with both hands. As we hold that knee into our chest nice and tight, we'll do a few ankle circles, one clockwise, one counterclockwise. And let's bend the right knee, bring the right foot flat to the floor, right knee up to the ceiling. And we'll straighten the left leg up to the ceiling over the hip. So the left leg is mostly straightened. And let's gently draw those circles again with our leg, either holding onto the back of our left thigh with both hands, or we have a yoga strap or a towel around the bottom of our foot. Just gently guiding that leg in some clockwise circles. Feeling how it can move in that hip socket. And we might be tighter on one side than the other side. We might feel different than we did last week, and that's totally normal, totally okay for your body to change week by week. Let's switch those circles to counterclockwise or to the left. And let's transition into that reclined pigeon. So we'll take the outside of our left ankle and bring it to the top of our right knee or right thigh. Left knee gently falls out and over to the left side. We're using both hands to gently guide that knee away from us as far as it can go. Or we're grabbing onto the back of our right thigh and lifting the right foot off of the floor for a little more intensity in that outer left hip stretch. Deep breaths here. Take 2 more deep breaths here. And let's go ahead and release that left leg. Bring the left foot flat to the floor, left knee to the ceiling. So now we have both feet flat, both knees to the ceiling. I want you to outstretch both of your arms. We're going to do a lying twist here. So outstretch both arms to the sides from your shoulders. And then we're going to lift both feet off of the floor. So knees are over the hips and shins are parallel to the ceiling, almost like we're about to do a dead bug. But we're going to gently drop, keeping the knees together. We're going to gently drop both knees down and over to the left side. So both arms are still stretched out from the shoulders. We're going to turn our nose to face our right hand. So knees have dropped to the left, where they're kind of keeping that 90-degree angle with your legs. And then we're turning to face the right hand. Aiming to relax here. Feel a nice gentle stretch in the lumbar spine. If you'd like to use your left hand to kind of gently hold on to the top of that or the outside of that right knee, feel free to do so. Kind of get a little extra stretch in that outer hip region. Couple more breaths here. And let's gently roll our knees back up to center. And then we'll outstretch that left arm. out from the shoulder and the right arm, of course. And then we'll gently drop those knees over to the right now. Keeping that 90-degree angle. Knees are down to the right, and then we'll turn our nose to face the left hand. And reminder, you can keep both arms outstretched from the shoulders, or you can take that right hand to gently kind of hold on to that outer left knee region, holding the leg down for a little extra stretch in that outer left hip. And on your next breath, go ahead and roll back to center. And I want you to just bring both knees into the chest, meet them with your hands, and just give them a big hug. Just kind of hold this ball here. And if you want to gently rock left to right to kind of massage that lower back out. And then you can rock yourself up and down. You can draw circles, just kind of whatever movement feels right. But we're just hugging the knees into the chest and kind of giving the lower back some love. An option to just stay here, or you can transition to a happy baby stretch or a reclined butterfly. I'll go through happy baby first. So we'll widen out the knees, reach both hands through to grab the bottoms of your feet. So arms are on the inside of your thighs. And you can either just hold here, that's kind of that reclined butterfly stretch, or you can extend the knees and bring the bottoms of the feet to the sky for that happy baby stretch. And again, you can always have that gentle left to right rock if it feels good, or you can just hold the stretch as is. You can always come back to that reclined butterfly if the happy baby is a little too much. If you're in that reclined butterfly, make sure the bottoms of your feet are at least touching kind of the ball of your foot and your heel. It's pretty hard to get completely flat to each other. Just a couple breaths here in whatever stretch we're doing. And let's go ahead and release that stretch, and we'll outstretch the legs once again. And let's roll ourselves to an upright seated position where we'll be ending our stretching today. We're not quite done yet though, so stay tuned. So we've come to a seated position, and I'll have you keep your legs outstretched, but I want them nice and wide. So outside of your hips for a wide-legged forward fold. I'll go ahead and have you make sure the feet are flexed, by the way, heels down, toes to the sky. We're going to inhale and reach both arms nice and high overhead. Then we're going to exhale, folding forward, reaching the hands between the legs. As far as we can go here. Wide-legged forward fold. Great stretch for the lower back, the hamstrings. And let's gently walk our hands, our fingertips over to the right leg or right foot. And we'll continue to hold that wide leg forward fold with a little more emphasis as we've reached over to the right foot. And let's walk the fingertips back to center. And now over to the left foot or left shin. Still keeping that folded positioning, nose is facing the left thigh. And breathe. And let's come back to center and slowly, one vertebrae at a time, come back to that upright seated position. We're going to transition into a butterfly stretch. So let's bring the bottoms of our feet together. Knees will fall out to the sides. And you can gently walk your hips forward towards your heels or kind of wiggle your heels towards your hips. Whatever works there, just get them as close as you can. And you can hold on to your feet with your hands if you'd like. Rolling the shoulders back, chest is nice and proud. Taking a couple breaths here in this standard butterfly. And on your next breath, we can add a gentle twist by taking our right hand behind our back. Left hand's going to come to the top of the right knee. We'll gently twist the chest and nose to the right. And let's come back to center and switch over to the left. Taking our left hand behind our back, right hand to the top of that left knee, gently twisting the spine, chest, nose to the left. And go ahead and release that twist. Let's outstretch the legs out in front of us. And our last stretch today, we're going to do that Barbie on the beach stretch. So I'll have you bring your right knee up and into your chest. Option to just stay here, or you can step that right foot over the left thigh or left knee. Hug that or hook that knee into the chest with your left elbow. And then we'll take the right hand behind our back, twist our chest and nose to the right. Great, stretching the outer right glutes. And on your next breath, go ahead and come back to center. Let that right leg back out long. Bring the left knee into your chest. Give it a big hug. Option to step the left foot over the right knee or right thigh. Hook that left knee into your chest with the right elbow and take the left hand behind your back for just a couple breaths here. Getting our minds right for the rest of our day, whether we have 2 hours or 10 hours left. We're focused, we're centered, and we're stretched and healthy and ready to take on the day. Last big breath here. And we'll go ahead and release that left leg. And of course, giving ourselves a pat on the back for showing up today. Thank you all so much for joining me.